Hey guys, this channel is known for showing you some of the nicest Walther PPs and PPKs, and today is no exception because I'm going to show you an extremely rare 25 caliber PPK. Check it out. Okay, I just got back from vacation. In fact, I was in the British Isles. I did a cruise all around the British Isles. I was in Ireland and Scotland and Sheffield and Wales and England. So I want to do a shout out to all of our subscribers from the British Isles. I had a great time. One of my highlights was visiting the Churchill War Room, and I hope to bring you a video about that at some point. I learned a lot. I thought it was fantastic. If you live in the area, you probably have already seen it, but if not, make sure you go see it. Now, I keep feeling like somebody's watching me, and so we have a new addition since I was away. And yes, that is a Panzer wrap, but the hat, I just threw the hat in because it looked kind of stupid headless. But that's a party leader cap, officer's cap, with a Panzer wrap. And we're trying to figure out pricing. One thing we're not good on is uniforms, and they are heavily faked, so of course you have to be careful. But stay tuned because as I learn more, we'll be offering these as well. Today I'm here to talk about a 25 caliber. Now, while I was on vacation, while I was on the ship, I had very poor communications. I could get a cell phone call, but it was very broken. And all I know is while I was there, I got a call say somebody just came to the office with a 25 caliber PPK. He was asking a lot of money. We don't think we should pay it. And it kept breaking off and coming back. And they said, what? Anyway, it was an awkward conversation. And so here's what I said. 25 caliber PPK, get it done. And that's what we did. So we paid full price, but we got it done, and here it is. So this is the 25 caliber PPK that came in while I was in England, and the son of the vet brought it in. Now, the vet's name was Todd. I'm not giving last names due to privacy concerns, but Todd was a staff sergeant in Germany during the war, and he claimed, when he brought this back, he claimed he took it off of a German officer. Now that is possible, but as you probably know, the Army did not order 25 caliber pistols. They either were 7.65, but some were in 9mm. There was a Luftwaffe contract that was in 9mm, but most of the officers carried 7.65 PP or PPK. Now, we also know that officers would sometimes buy their own weapon, their own sidearm, and so it is possible that this was a private purchase by a German officer. And whatever the case, at the end of the war, whether it was civilian, bank guards, factory guards, or officers in the military, everybody in Germany had to turn in their guns. That's right, they had to turn them in at the end of the war, and many of them were destroyed, but also the vets were allowed to bring back souvenirs. So therefore, don't say stolen, they were collected and destroyed or allowed to be used as souvenirs by our vets. And so this came home with a vet, and the son of the vet brought it here while I was away, and we got it done. Let's take a closer look at this 25 caliber, and I'll tell you a little bit about how rare this is. Okay, this is a beautiful high polish finish, fairly early. Let's look at the serial number. So this is from about 1932. Yeah, I would say 1932, before the RZM contract. You see the crown and proofs, but they're unusually placed here and here. On a 7.65, they're here and here. On a 22 caliber, they're here and here. So one way to know if this is a real or a fake 25 caliber, and by the way, not too many people would try faking it because you have to change a lot of things. We'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, they're always early. This was experimental. They experimented with 25 caliber to see if it would be popular. Again, as an overview, most of them are 7.65 or 32 caliber. Actually, it's 96% are 32 caliber. So let's try to wrap our head around this a little bit. There were 300,000 PPKs, about 300,000 PPKs made in the Zella-Mehlis factory. So that would be from 1930 up until 1945, actually 1944. Of the PPs, there were a little more than 500,000 made, so over 500,000 made from 1929 up to 1945. So 500,000 versus 300,000. About 2% were 22 caliber, about 2% were 9 millimeter, and only 0.001% were 6.35 or 25 caliber. That's about 300 PPs in 25 caliber and only about 150 PPs in 25 caliber. Here's a picture of a PP in 25 caliber. We sold this one on our site, and I don't have one in the safe right now, at least not one that I can find. I thought I had one. It's pretty bad when your collection is so big that I don't even remember what's in there. But I know we get them. So the 25 caliber PP is actually rarer than the PPK. So let's go back to the PPK, and here's something else that makes it unique. These are so rare that they didn't even make a slide legend with 6.35. That was hand engraved. So basically what they did, they took the acid etching. This was acid etched. If you look at the 7.65, you see the logo here. It does the caliber and it says 7.65. You'll see the same thing for the other calibers. But for 25 caliber, they didn't even have its own stencil to acid etch it. So they would acid etch, but somehow not do that. And then they came back and they engraved that in. You can see it's a different font. And actually, if you look at the PP, it's the same way. The whole logo looks exactly like a normal logo, except the 6.35 has been hand engraved. I pulled this one out of the safe just to give you another example. Here's a 9 millimeter PP. And for some odd reason, normally it would say caliber 9 millimeter. They had the stencil for that, but this went to the United States. It has an export mark, went to the United States. And for some reason, they wanted 380. The caliber is 380, and it's not 380 millimeters. So it's almost, the factory was asked, can you do this? And so instead of making a new stencil, they just hand inscribed that in there. That's a very rare gun, by the way. That's a 9 millimeter PP. And that's hand engraved, caliber hand engraved. And I have one other. This is one of the first 9 millimeters. So you see the typical acid etched logo, but you can tell the font and the size of the 9 millimeter was an afterthought, and that was added later. Now they did have a 9 millimeter. I'm sure Randy can find one, but 9 millimeter, they made enough of them. They made thousands of them. I think it was like 5,000. 9 millimeter, and they did have their own logo. But this was one of the first ones ever made, and therefore they didn't even have the logo ready. So they put the logo on and then hand inscribed the 9. So that's just the uniqueness of how these are made. Here's something else that's unique. They made so few of these that they didn't even have a magazine in 25 caliber. So here's what they did. They took a 25 caliber, this is a Model 8, of course, and it comes in 25 caliber. And they took the 25 caliber magazine, notice the little holes here. Looks a lot like that. They took this magazine and they inserted it into a 7.65. And if you say, well, Tom, that's a stretch, I don't know if I believe you, check this out. 25 caliber magazine, I take the bottom piece off, and inside there's the Walther banner. All they had to do is cut off this part. Now do you believe me? And then they insert this. Inside, fits perfectly. Inside here, and now you can see a double lip. You can see the original mag and then the 7.6 magazine. Basically, that's it. They take this magazine, insert it into here. The holes are a little bit different. The PP is the exact same design, by the way. So they never really did make a 25 caliber magazine. I would imagine the plan was, let's see how these work. If they become real popular and we have a high demand, then we'll go ahead and make the stencil and we'll design a new magazine. But in the meantime, let's just take what we have in stock. Let's make this, see how it fits. And that leads me to my question of how well this shoots, because I don't know how well this would feed. It's a magazine inside of a magazine. It seems like it would have feed issues, but that's why I decided, let's take this 25 caliber to the range and see how it shoots. Okay, we're gonna go to the range and shoot a 25 caliber. I've never shot one before, so this is kind of exciting. They are very, very rare. They are very, very expensive, so I'm only gonna put a few rounds through it. But I thought, since I'm going to the range and it's all of 10 minutes away, I might as well use the time wisely. And since I'm only gonna put a few rounds through this, let me take a 22 caliber, 25 caliber, a 32 caliber, and a 9mm, and just kind of give you a sense of the similarities and differences. I'm not sure if they're going to feed differently or how accurate they're going to be, but let's go find out. Now, since I'm taking all PPKs, I will take one PP to actually compare that as well. And I'm going to go have some fun. In the meantime, maybe we can learn something. So why don't you come on with me and we'll go down to the mainline armory and shoot some PPKs and a PP. These are the guns that I decided to bring along. I'm going to start with the 25 caliber and then compare it to a 22, a 32, and then a 9mm. I also want to compare one PP to the PPK. So we'll talk through that as we go along. So I'm really featuring the 25 caliber, and I was just talking to Randy about, I would predict it would have some feed issues. A very rare gun, and we've sold these anywhere in the 15,000 to 18,000 range. So this is a very expensive purchase and not something you necessarily want to take to the range, but we want to see how it shoots. Okay, pop it in. Did not feed well. Okay, let's try that and slap it a little harder. That did it. All right, we're good. Let's try this out. We just did 4 rounds, and let's go check out where they hit. Now, I don't know the sequence, but I know my hand was pretty steady, and maybe it would have been off by a little bit, but it wasn't off by this much. So I'm wondering, and by the way, it fed just perfectly, other than the first round. The slide has to slam forward, and I didn't do that hard enough. So I didn't have any feed issues. I'm not going to put a lot of rounds through it because this is a highly collectible gun. But let me circle these and then try a 22 caliber. Okay, I actually brought 2 22s with me. This is an early 22, about the same era as the 25 caliber, so I'm going to compare this one. And then later, this is a late 22. It's actually from 1944. I would turn it around, but I don't want to point it at my cameraman, so we'll keep it pointed down range. It's not loaded, but we'll use this later and compare it with the PPK. Here's the magazine with the finger extension rest. And I don't want to make a rookie mistake again, so I'm going to really rack the slide pretty strongly. And that seems to feed just perfectly. Just shows that I haven't used the gun in a while, but that's the way you really have to slam it in there. If you're too timid, it won't feed properly. Okay, let's bring it in. Okay, this is interesting. You see my outlier here. First of all, this is excellent. Excellent. This is in blue, by the way. Can't really tell on camera, but blue versus black. And then that outlier, I swear I was on the target, but we'll just make note of that. And now let's try a 32 caliber. Okay, my choice on the 32 caliber, I did a video about this gun. It's post-war engraved, so it's just a standard 32 caliber from about 1938. These are engraved grips. Again, this was all embellished after the war, I think done fairly recently. None of this embellishment should affect its ability to fire, but let's try a .32 caliber and compare it. There's the magazine, which has the gaudy finger extension, but that is an original Walther Banner magazine. So we'll pop it in there, and remember, give it a good slap. That's the way to do it. Woo! Okay, so this is not a real scientific study, but you can see I don't have the outlier here. I don't have the outlier here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is actually the most accurate so far. Again, this is not scientific because we didn't control for a lot of factors, but let me mark this. Actually, it doesn't show up. You get the idea. Actually, it's for me to compare later. 1, 2, 3, oh, 4 is right in here. All right, so now for the full Monty. Now we're going to do the full Monty, the 9mm. For the big boys. If you're going to do the full Monty, you want the big boys. Let's get out our 9mm. Okay, for my 9mm, I have a really special gun. Those of you who know Walthers, PPs and PPKs, the 9mm is noteworthy because it has the bottom release magazine. The first few hundred they made, they used the push button, but they found by drilling into the frame, it weakened the frame, and the 9mm caused enough of an impact or a jolt that it weakened the frame. So they moved the push button to a bottom release. Randy, I think you have a bottom release over there. That's what the bottom release looks like. And again, that's just to keep the frame strengthened. But my friend Peter, who passed away during COVID, this was from his collection, and he left this to me, so he would be very honored that I'm going to shoot this. There is the magazine with the 9mm ammo. Now, this is 9mm short. People correct me to say it's not 9mm Luger. It is 380 ACP in the US, but in Germany, it would be 9mm short. And let's see how this one shoots. Smack it in there. Now, see, that feels like you're shooting a gun. The .22, it could be a BB gun, but that I could really tell I was shooting a gun, and even got like I can feel it right in here. It's not going to be bruised, but you know, it just feels a little tender. So it's got a little bit of kick. Let's bring it on home. We ran out of magic markers, so we'll just do this by eye, and these look like, well, there's the outlier. See, I always get one outlier. Here, isn't it amazing how they paired up? This one is pretty much a bullseye. You can tell by the bigger hole. This is pretty much a bullseye. This is, I think, pretty accurate, and then this is one outlier. So my theory doesn't hold up. I like to, when I do videos, I like them to be all very predictable. But in this case, I predicted that the .22 caliber would be far more accurate because of the, target shooting is usually done with .22 caliber because they're lightweight. They're not going to have, they're not going to drop. Of course, this is a shorter distance. On a longer distance, that might be accurate. But there are outliers, and I swear I was aiming them all right there. So it does seem like the .32 caliber, at least in this case, the .32 caliber was the most accurate, and the rest of them were all about the same. But I'm going to save this target, and Randy, I think, is going to raffle it off to some lucky winner. But that was a lot of fun. When I set this up, I already said I thought the .22 caliber would be the most accurate, when in fact they seemed about the same. And because I thought the 22 would be most accurate, I also thought, what's the difference in accuracy of a 22 caliber PPK? Again, this is a late war PPK, 430,000 serial range. So a late war PPK. Now I'm going to compare it to this 22 caliber PP. This is just a gorgeous gun. You can see the finish, and just again, from my personal collection, it comes with the box mag, which does not add any mag capacity. It just adds to the comfort, but it looks really cool. I'll show it to you when we put it together. But theoretically, the PP would be more accurate than the PPK. So I'm going to do a little further distance because the longer barrel should add to the accuracy. And we're going to see if, again, this is not scientific. It's just me shooting at targets. So I'm going to do 2 different targets. I'll do PPK here and the PP over here, and we'll see if there's a significant difference. So far, we really haven't seen much of a difference in the different calibers. All right, I stand corrected. This is the magazine to the PPK, but even better, it just looks, now isn't that cool? It just looks so much better. Let's keep that pointed down range. I know a lot of you guys are going to criticize our techniques whenever we shoot. One of the downsides is we get a lot of criticism, and you know what I say? Leave Brittany alone, please. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this, and we'll keep it safe. Now, again, the PPK is going to be on the left side target. Oh, and don't forget, you got to slap it. There we go. Now we're going to jump right into the PP, 4 rounds. Magazine fits. Not as cool as the box mag, but it's a beautiful gun. And smack it, and here we go, the other side. Oh, this actually has much better sights. All right, that's 4. I can't even tell. Let's bring it on in. Again, this was further distance. And you can see the spread is much, wow. That made a huge difference. The PPK, I had 1 bullseye. And I can't tell which is which, but here's one down here. So I had 1, 2 on target, and probably 3 just off. Here I have 1, 2 on target, 2 off. You know what? I don't like that result. Let's do it again, and this time I'm going to have Randy shoot it. And Randy, you're going to do the bottom 2. Let's just pop that out really quick and see. Because, you know, you really have to control for user error, so let's let Randy try it out. Okay, we're going to put it at the same distance, which is 7 yards. Not very far, but Randy's going to do the PPK first, just like I did. He's going to be the bottom left. All right, and now the PP. Notice the sights, Randy?
Oh yeah, yeah, they're much better.
Okay, here's my commentary. Randy's a better shot than me. There's Randy's grouping. The PP for me, when I look at the outlier, the PP was just a little more accurate, assuming it's these 2 and these 2. For Randy, the PP was a little more accurate. Considering the fact that the barrel is only about a ½ an inch, maybe a little more, but about a ½ an inch longer, there's not a whole lot of difference. But for both Randy and I, the PP 22 caliber was a little more accurate. Hey, that was fun. And we're back in the office now. And last time we shot a Luger, it was a Luger carbine, Randy had the idea of me giving away the targets. And I thought, who's going to want those? But it turns out a lot of you wrote to us and said you'd like the targets. I couldn't fulfill everybody's wishes. Wish I could. So I had 2 targets today, and just let us know if you're interested in one. This one is labeled the 25 caliber video. I signed it. And this was all the different, this was the experiment of the different calibers, and I said there was not a significant difference. And this second one, I'm sure nobody wants, because this one only proves that Randy's a better shot than me. He's gonna forever hold that over my head, but he did give me some pointers afterwards. I'm gonna do better next time.